Hello ladies and gentlemen, Drew from Club Heroes, and welcome back to the COD commentary series. Now today I'm doing a video I usually wouldn't do, and that's because I feel like with a video like this, people would probably perceive it to be some sort of political propaganda. However, that's not the case. I'll state that right now, and I think that as you watch the video, you'll find that this video is not about spreading any sort of political idea, but really all it is me wanting to pay my respects to a man who I felt influenced and inspired me throughout my life, and who also loved, respected, and influenced the United States of America. So, without further ado, why don't we begin discussing U.S. Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia, who, of course, by the title of the video, you can tell that's who we're talking about. So, Justice Scalia recently died. He died February 13th, which I believe was just last Saturday, and apparently it was in his sleep at a resort in West Texas. And I believe that this is the time of year where the Supreme Court takes a little hiatus from their cases, and they are allowed to go on, like, I guess you could say, a sort of vacation from the court. And so I assume that Scalia took his vacation here, and he died overnight of natural causes. Now, of course, Scalia's death is the major news story right now. And in this video, I wanted to discuss, I said, why Scalia influenced and inspired me so much. But before we get into that, I wanted to just discuss some of the basic facts of his life so that we get a more personal feel for the man, especially for those of you who don't know him too well, maybe because you're not into the political realm so much, or because you're not part of the country of the United States of America. So for those of you in those cases, let's just go through a few basic facts about Scalia. Now, starting off from the beginning, Scalia was born to Italian immigrants in 1936, and he grew up in New York. As far as his education goes, he was valedictorian at Xavier High School. He then went on to Georgetown University, where he became the top of his class, and then he went even further, going on to Harvard Law, where he received magna cum laude at graduation. Obviously, this is a huge achievement, receiving such a high honor at such a prestigious law school. Now, after Harvard Law, he married Maureen McCarthy, and together they had 9 children. Now, to some of you, it might seem a little strange or crazy that Scalia and his wife had 9 children together. But as I know, having some Italian culture heritage, there's a huge emphasis on family and Italian tradition. And so, when taking that into account, it really isn't surprising that Scalia and his wife raised such a large family. Again. So fast forward to 1986, of course we've got President Ronald Reagan as the U.S. President, and he nominates Justice Scalia to the Supreme Court, and is confirmed, surprisingly, by a vote of 98-0 in the Senate. Time on the Supreme Court, Scalia utilized an originalist philosophy for interpreting the Constitution, and I believe that there are about four philosophies for interpreting the Constitution that historians or scholars accept, and the originalist happens to be one of those. And basically, one interprets the Constitution in most instances for what it meant at adoption. So what Scalia would do is, when reviewing any sort of case using his originalist philosophy, he would review the case in light of how the Founding Fathers may have saw it, or how the Constitution would have been meant to deal with it at its adoption, what it was originally meant for. And of course, Scalia served on the Supreme Court till 2016, using this originalist philosophy, and then passed away. So those are the basic facts that for you guys. If you wanted to learn more about Scalia, definitely just search him online. It's very easy to find his life and story. So if you wanted to find out further detail about the man, you can definitely do that. But now I wanted to move on to why Scalia influenced me as a person. So for the first reason I had as to why Scalia was influential towards me is because he's a cultural success story. Now, what I mean by that is Scalia is an Italian success story in America, and of course, me being an American Italian, this is kind of a big deal to me. So of course, Scalia himself was an American Italian, and he turned out to be a really huge success. And obviously, this means a lot to me, descending from the same heritage or culture. Now, I think that this is the same for almost any human. When we look at people who are similar to us or of the same race or identity, it is something that's very cool to us. It's something that we can take pride in, even if we don't know that person at a personal level. Seeing them succeed and have the same values or culture that we do, that's really something that makes us happy and proud. So that was one of the reasons why he was an influence on me, because he was so similar to me in regards to our past or our culture, really. Additionally, Scalia's work ethic or value on education is something that I really liked about him. If you asked anyone who knows me, they would tell you that I put a lot of value in my education. I really see it as a tool to success, really a greater success in life. And I think that if you look at Scalia's life in review, you can see by the schools he went to and the achievements he made at these great schools that not only did he value his education, but he utilized every opportunity he had as a means to end success. And it really is a wonderful example of how working hard to receive a great education can result in one's success. So moving on, Scalia was also an important figure to me, and he influenced me a lot because he was a man who was devoted to his family, his livelihood, and his country. And to me, these are all very important topics to center yourself around. In regards to his family, as we didn't really review it that much, but if you look into Scalia's relationship with his wife and his children, you can tell that he loved them very much, he really adored them, and tried to raise them to be really good people. So, in that respect, Scalia was really devoted to making his family a great group of people. Additionally, in his livelihood, as you can tell by his legacy and his dedication while he was alive to the Supreme Court, clearly Scalia really loved being a justice, and he worked really hard in being a justice. And of course, in viewing his livelihood, it's very clear that Scalia did indeed love his country. He used all the time that he had in the Supreme Court to try his best to make what he thought were the right decisions for his country, to try and move the country forward in a positive light. And in doing this, it's really, really clear that he had a lot of love and respect for America, which is something that I take as a high value. And lastly, Scalia's bravery and standing up for how he viewed the Constitution really makes him an inspiration to me. Whether you agree with what Scalia thought about the Constitution or not, I don't really care. It's regardless, it's really obvious that he had a ton of bravery, because I feel like in a time that this is a time where he may have received a lot of hate for his beliefs and nonetheless stood up for them. And I think that it can also be an example for us. Again, even if you don't agree with Scalia, here's an example of a man who was standing up against maybe what would in some cases be seen as societal norms. And I think that for a lot of us, it can be hard to not conform, to not want to just try and fit in. And in doing so, sometimes we forsake ourselves and lose our beliefs. So Scalia stands as an example for all of us as a person who was able to hold on to his values and his beliefs even in a time where they may have been looked down upon. And that's really someone to look up to. So to end this video off, or before we end it off rather, I just wanted to talk about Scalia's death and some of the hate that he received, actually. So in Scalia's death, I did some research, obviously, went to various news articles, and of course I'm going to read the comments, because I always do. I'm always curious what people think. And there were some people really sad, showing a lot of mournfulness for Scalia, but then there were some people who were actually rejoicing over the death of this man. So in the case of people rejoicing over the death of Scalia, it wasn't because these people hated Scalia, it was because they hated his political ideas. And if these people were to say, oh, I actually do hate Scalia, and that's why I was rejoicing over his death, first of all, that's just sick. Second of all, it's naive, because they actually couldn't hate Scalia because they didn't know him enough to hate him on a personal level. They didn't understand the complexity within his life, and rather they reduced him to an individual aspect of his life. And it's funny because I'm sure that most of these people are the type of people who get mad and condemn other people for basing their judgments of a person off of a single characteristic. And yet here they are, taking a man, laughing at him, joking about his death, because they viewed him in light of only one characteristic and hated him for it. So it's complete hypocrisy, and it really is disgusting. And for those people who had that problem of reducing Scalia to only one aspect of his life, I think need to look to Scalia himself for guidance. And they can look to a specific example in his life where he disagreed with a person politically and disliked their political ideas, but was able to respect their full character and really get to know the person and like them a lot. And this example with Scalia is between him and another justice, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And Ruth is still on the Supreme Court, obviously, and they are completely different in their views of the Constitution. Ruth tends to be more liberal and progressive with the Constitution, seeing it as a living, breathing document. And Scalia, you could say, would be more of a conservative. Obviously, he's an originalist, as we discussed, and he would view ideas in the Constitution as how they would be viewed when the document itself was first adopted. So you take these two people, completely opposing ideas, probably disliked each other's ideas, didn't like how each other viewed the Constitution, yet outside the court they were great friends. There were many instances where they would go around together on vacations, or they would go to parties together, and in the end, despite their dislike of each other's beliefs in this one regard, they really had a lot of respect for each other. But this was because they viewed each other in spite of their whole person, or as I would call it, based on my background, cura personalis. That's what the Jesuits would call it, cura personalis, care of the whole person. And this relationship is a wonderful, beautiful example of how that happened. Ruth and Scalia both cared for the individual as a whole rather than just basing them off of one aspect, and in doing so they were able to become wonderful friends. So for those of you who disagreed with Scalia's political views, I hope that you can come to view him in light of his whole self rather than just those political ideas, and pay homage to his life and give him the respect that he deserves. But thank you all so much for watching. I know this was a little longer, and this is a video that I wouldn't usually post, but seeing as how Scalia was so important to me, I felt that it was necessary that I paid my respects to him through my channel. I know that some people may still hate me for this. They may dislike the video and post hate comments against me and Scalia, but to those of you who do that, I don't care, because if you do end up posting a hate comment against me or Scalia, or you dislike the video, all you're really doing is showing how ignorant you are, and you're showing how little you paid attention to the video, because not only would you be missing the point that I demonstrated at the beginning of the video, but you'd also be completely ignoring the whole message that I tried to display at the end of the video, which was to respect Scalia as a complete and complex man, not to just view him from his political self. So, thanks so much, guys. If you enjoyed, definitely smack that like button. If you want to see more COD commentaries in the future, comment down below, and let me know what you'd like me to comment or make a commentary for in the future. As always, if you're not subscribed yet, definitely subscribe to get all the updates on when the new videos are coming out. And that's going to be it for now. I'll see you guys all later. God bless Justice Scalia and his family. Bye.